everybody, welcome to EZAnime. We have something a little bit different today. We're discussing our first movie, our animated feature.
Yeah, I guess
on
it is our
EZAnime.
first
We've never
movie.
done a movie before, and it's Studio Ghibli is something that I think we knew we were going to cover because we love it so much, and obviously it's so influential and so just purely wonderful. And the film we're going to talk about today, I think, perfectly describes that. And that movie is Castle in the Sky, something that you've never seen before.
Yeah, it's my first time seeing it.
Yeah, it actually marked it was the first feature debut of Studio Ghibli. So
really,
yeah, with their name attached to it and everything. 1986.
Wow, it's that old.
Yeah,
Jeez.
for Castle in the Sky. And Castle in the Sky, I think the first question that we want to answer is, what is it? And I think when you're summarizing the plot of Castle in the Sky, it's fairly straightforward, and I think the way that a lot of Miyazaki films are straightforward. We're going to get into that. But basically, Castle in the Sky is about this girl, and she's been captured by the military, and she tries to escape. They're on this airship. She falls down to the ground. She has this gem that saves her, so she doesn't die. She slowly descends down to the ground. And a young engineer named Pazu finds her, and they kind of hit it off right away, and slowly they learn about each other.
Yeah.
And Pazu's father found this island, this floating island in the sky called Laputa, and no one believed his father. And so what his son is trying to do, what Pazu's trying to do, is he's trying to prove that Laputa is real. And of course, you find out that Sheeta, the girl that fell from the sky, has a connection with Laputa. You learn about why the military was so interested in her, why they're so interested in Laputa. There are some wonderful sky pirates that go along the way. And really, it's about uncovering the mystery of this ancient floating city. That is the brief,
the basic plot of it.
Yeah, 2-minute summary that I would do. But let's just start off with something that we don't normally do. What are your initial impressions before we dig into the more specific things?
This movie gave me a really great vibe, Ben. It gave me a vibe that I get when I play like a Dragon Quest game for the first time or a Zelda game for the first time.
Sure.
This grand sense of adventure. And I think I just fell in love with the world so much what it was.
Yeah.
Like the town he lived in with all the miners and everything like that. Like the art direction in this movie is insane.
It is insane.
Insane.
Yeah. It's absolutely insane. The kind of the hugest thing that I want to talk about is what Castle in the Sky chooses to explain and not explain, the world building and how it interjects humanity. Because I think you actually bring up two really great examples where you bring up Dragon Quest and you bring up The Legend of Zelda. And I think there are things about those series that Miyazaki films share. So we said during the summary that it's all about this Laputa, this mysterious floating island. They do not explain very much about this island.
Dude. When the island also gave me like hardcore, like eco Shadow of the Colossus Last Guardian vibes.
Right.
And slightly Souls vibes. Just like abandoned, mysterious kind of structure.
Right. And I think something that Miyazaki just intrinsically understands and what he does so well in pretty much all of his films that he's directed is he understands that the best way to use animation is to show and to not tell. And if you think about, I think, an easier example to understand, you think about Totoro, My Neighbor Totoro. Totoro is this, like, magical fantasy beast.
Weird cat thing.
Yeah, but they don't describe what makes Totoro Totoro. They don't go into his biology.
They don't over-explain it. They don't need to.
Right. They show him breathing and how powerful his breath is. They show him flying around on a leaf. They show him they show him living in the world as opposed to explaining his role in the world.
Breaking down every single thing,
Right. And I think that's what's so cool about Laputa is it takes a long time for them to get to the island.
It's a pretty long movie. It's like 2 hours. But
it is.
The last 30 minutes maybe is the island or so.
And I think probably the best scenes of the whole film are when Sheeta, the girl, and Pazu, the young engineer, get to the island for the first time.
Oh, man, yeah. And there's the robot there.
Yep, the robot is there. And I think it's so perfect because Laputa is incredibly still, and it's just kind of this serene, like overgrown paradise, and I love the shot where they're looking through the water, and you see that there is an entire city underneath them.
Dude, this is straight out of a Ueda game,
right?
Or like Ueda, like I feel like when I'm like making all these connections in my brain, I'm like, all these game designers I love probably have seen this movie and we're like, yes, this is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in an Ueda game, it's the power of suggestion versus the power of description. And there's just so many lengthy, long pauses on look at how wondrous it is. You can kind of buy into the majesty I think that Castle in the Sky is selling because it feels like it believes it itself. And I think it makes it easier to go along for the ride. And another thing that I like a transition about it is once the military and the Sky Pirates come to Laputa, they start this serene place where it's very quiet, very serene, very still. You have this robot protecting these birds. Suddenly it's exploding. Suddenly it's crumbling apart.
Yeah, people lose treasure.
It feels like it's a character that's dying. And I love the transition from look at how much is here, look at how wondrous this is, to look at what people who can't appreciate it, who don't respect it, are doing to it.
It's like having a really beautiful like rainforest or something like that, and a bulldozer just going just knocking it all over. You're like, no, dude.
It's almost like sometimes I feel like what Miyazaki accomplishes so well is the value of appreciating things sincerely, the value of taking things as they are. Like it's like Miyazaki directs his films as if he's like he knows exactly how a kid is going to see it. Like when I was a kid, I don't know about you, but like in school, for example, when the seating arrangement was changed and I'd be back next to somebody new, I just immediately liked them. I would immediately strike up a conversation. You don't have, when you're so young, you don't have those bad experiences built up. You don't have those you have the beauty of ignorance where you just, because you have that beauty of ignorance, you just kind of trust each other. And you see that between the two central characters. You see that between Pazu and Shita. Yeah. I mean, you have this girl falling from the sky,
and he's like, oh, he just saves her.
Right, he just saves her. He naturally assumes that she's a great person.
Yep.
He's just like, hey, did you know you have this powerful stone? Let me try to test it out. And he he jumps and crashes through the floor. And I think if Miyazaki was not such a master of visually representing that majesty and that wonder, it would feel like cheap, it would feel thrown together. But because he's so good at creating this wondrous world where these crazy things exist, you can kind of believe that these characters would just naturally, it's almost like they can sense the goodness in each other, which is really cool.
Yeah, like sensing the goodness reminds me of when the pirates were looking for her. And everyone just had their back immediately in the town.
Yeah.
And they had like that really good, like he does comedy really well.
Yeah.
I will say that. Like that fight scene was goofy and comedic.
Right.
But it worked somehow.
Yeah.
Like all the comedy in this movie is great. Like I never was like pulled out. I was just like, like we're trying to get some Marvel cheese in a movie or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Again, the comedy is great because it's extremely visual, where you're talking about the Sky Pirates. They're looking for Sheeta. They want to find Sheeta so they can find Laputa and steal all this treasure. And they pick a fight with the engineer who's like looking after Pazu, and they're trying to outman each other, and they're bulging their muscles and the shirt's popping off.
Yeah.
And it's good because of how it slowly escalates from verbal insults to kind of pushing each other back and forth to muscles literally bulging and exploding the shirts, which is really cool. It's also the delivery of some of the lines.
Yes.
The Sky Pirates are a complete delight, and so you
they're
have
so fun.
Dola, this elderly woman. She has a Robotnik-looking husband, and they have all of these sons, and this family basically makes up this Sky Pirate team, and they're all boys. All of these, there's no girls except for Dola herself, and apparently they love dessert. And when they recruit Sheeta and Pazu into the gang, basically, they're like, oh, we don't have to do all these chores anymore. Will you make us pudding? I love pudding. Let me lick the spoon. And then Dola just says, like, under her breath, what can I say? They just really love dessert.
Yeah, like childlike behavior, still somewhat like full-grown adults. One of my favorite scenes is where Sheeta's cooking in the kitchen, and one of the Sky Pirates, because they all kind of like her, he comes in to help.
Right.
He's like all embarrassed, asking to help, and you see one of them already over there peeling potatoes.
Yep.
And there's just more and more coming. They're all surprised each time someone comes in.
Yep.
Oh my god.
And these scenes are not resolved through dialogue. They kind of fall in love with Sheeta more directly once she changes into
the outfit
Sky
and
Pirate
everything.
clothes.
Yep.
And they're like, oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. And then you think to yourself, oh yeah, these Sky Pirates, it's just a bunch of brothers. They've probably never seen a girl before. It's kind of adorable how they're falling over themselves to impress Sheeta. And again, what they're doing is they're using the expressions, they're using the comedic timing to kind of show you, to give you insight into how the Sky Pirates work. Man. And another thing that I love, and like the simplest way of doing this, and why Studio Ghibli is just so good, is you see Dola's room. She takes Sheeta into her room, and you see a picture of Dola as a young Sky Pirate, and she kind of looks like Sheeta. And rather than going on about her past, rather than Dola having this monologue about what her life was like, you get it. You get it from looking at that picture. And this is a movie that doesn't waste any time and uses all of the space within the frame that you're looking at. It uses the items within it. It uses the locations themselves to tell a story.
Yeah, even like the Sheeta flashback kind of like briefly talk about her past, and it's super quick.
Right. Brad, I'm so glad you bring that up, because you think about the Sheeta flashback, and like when you're writing it out, when you're thinking about how those scenes played out, they kind of don't make sense. There's like gaps in between them where it's like, okay, I guess Sheeta lives in this village, and this person taught her spells. Don't cast the bad one. Don't cast the destructive one. Like, it's just very simple. This is what happened. Flashback. It's you don't spend a lot of time.
And it's
there.
like that's all it needs to be.
Right. Exactly.
That's it. Like,
exactly.
Great pacing, man. This movie.
And you were talking about just the animation and 1986.
Dude.
Like,
I didn't know it was 1986.
Yeah.
Like, the animation of this movie is crazy good.
It is. What do you think makes it so crazy good?
I think it's the art direction and the like how fluid everything feels. Like, man, like a big part about for me for anything is the world it takes place in, like video games, movies. Like, this is a world I fell in love with. This is a world I could see myself wanting to be a part of.
Yep. One thing that I think upon rewatching it that I didn't pick up on before is you're talking about that world and wanting to be a part of it. And I think if you build a world that you want to be a part of, you have to make it feel real. And the ways in which they interject humanity into certain scenes, it's like it's something that you'll view and you'll kind of consume, but it takes a while to really process. Like the scene where Pazu wakes up and he has to play the trumpet to wake everybody up.
Yeah, I love that.
He blows into the trumpet and it doesn't work right away.
He warms up real
quick.
quick.
Like, it seems like such a simple thing, but that takes an absolute master to do, where it's like, oh no, like he's got to warm up a little bit.
It makes it so much more relatable and feel real.
Right. When they're in the cave, when Pazu and Sheeta are in the cave and they're having the eggs on the toast and they bite into it and the egg, they get all of the egg.
Yeah.
And they're just like, okay.
They just kind of like go with it. Yeah.
Right. It's like these animators, these storytellers have gone through this themselves. They know what it's like to be a human being. They know, like, if anybody else were telling this story, Pazu and Sheeta just would have eaten the toast and egg, and it wouldn't have been a big deal at all.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. The way that they make the machines feel.
Oh my! They felt really mysterious and dangerous.
They did. And I think what made them feel mysterious and dangerous is they sort of have this organic quality to them.
Yeah.
You think about like the Sky Pirate, like speeder machines that they were flying.
Oh, they're like dragonflies.
Right. They have like these
so
dragonfly wings. And it's this kind of fusion between the mechanical aspect and the natural aspect that makes it so wonderful, because you actually see them like winding it up like an old timey car. They stick a rod in and they crank it. But then when it's flying in the air, it looks like a dragonfly. I think that's true of the Laputan robots as well.
Yeah.
Where they look frightening at first. And I think what makes them look frightening is they have kind of the the eyes that are different sizes, and then they've got spikes coming out of these spindly arms. But when they're flying around, they have like this pink film that goes across the thing. And yeah, how do you come up with this?
I don't know, man.
Even the military designs, Goliath.
They looked like the military. They looked totally like German from World War I.
Right. The way they use the camouflage of the helmets. Absolutely. We usually save criticisms for the end of the episode, but something that I couldn't get over, I couldn't find a justification for. There were a lot of things that, because of the way, the tone that Miyazaki and his team established with the world, I was able to just go with. One thing that I wasn't able to go with, I think Muska is a not good villain. I think he's the weakest part of the whole film.
He's like whatever.
And the reason why I think he's not a good villain is because everything that he does is hard to buy into and feels... Where we were talking about interjecting humanity, we never see that with him. We never have any moments with him that make us believe he's an actual person as opposed to a plot device. You find out that he's obsessed with chasing Sheeta, and you think it's just for the military, but then you find out that
he's a descendant.
He's a descendant from this island as well, and that he wants to use power to rule. And it just... It feels like Villain 101. It feels like, okay, you have the kids who can appreciate the wonder of this world and leave it in peace and go about with their lives, and then you have somebody that wants to use it for evil. And it just... It was a fairly generic moment in a movie where everything else was so fantastic.
Yeah, he's pretty, like, standard villain, I would say. Not a lot to him.
Were there any redeeming qualities about him that you did like, that you thought were cool?
Let me think about that. I liked the fact that he knew so much about this place. He was so knowledgeable about all that stuff. Like, I really feel like he studied this for a long time, and I bought that he would know that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's about it. He looked pretty, like, generic, like, just businessman kind of thing.
I do like the escalation of power that Castle in the Sky has. So you kind of have Pazu and Sheeta, who couldn't do that much, and then they run into the Sky Pirates, who have their own... like cloth ship, they've got all of this machinery, and then you see the military, and you see their ship, the Goliath, and how that just completely dwarfs the Sky Pirates. And then you get to Laputa and the weird technology that he's using with the stone. He's shooting these giant beams that just completely destroy the Goliath. He summons all of the robots.
He's the only a good escalation. Like, I was keeping track of the whole movie. I was looking for a kill count.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone dies. They make it very deliberate, showing you people escaping situations. Like, when the robot goes nuts in the fortress, like, people, like, they show, like, when the cannons are getting shot, people running out before they blow up. But at the very end of the movie, people actually start dying. I was like, whoa, did they actually die right there?
You've got this, like, the soldiers climbing up the blocks, and then the blocks, like, move, and they fall down to their deaths. You have Goliath blowing up as well.
Oh, one thing I wanted to, like, I wish they did is, like, the villain's death. Like... At the end of the movie, he's just like, oh, I can't see. And you just see him walking, like, stuff falling around, and that's it.
Right.
I wish he gave me a little more, just a little more. Let me see that satisfying, like, falling or something.
Right.
Like, minor nitpick, but I wish they showed a little more. It's like, it's very implied that he dies, of course.
Sure. We talked about it a little bit, this sort of nature versus technology theme and how those things can coexist. This is a through line throughout Miyazaki films where he's dealing with this subject a lot.
Yeah.
Do you think there was anything particularly interesting, profound, thought-provoking with the way that it was discussed here?
I don't know. Nothing like where I was like, oh, I never thought of it that kind of way, you know? Like, I've seen his movies before, a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I can kind of familiar. Like, I was thinking like Mononoke and kind of stuff like that.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah, nothing like super new for me.
What I liked the best is... So Miyazaki, again, obviously loves flight. And there are so many times where, especially once they get to the Sky Pirates, especially once you see Pazu helping out, where they're working, they're using wrenches to fix things, they're flying around, they're on that glider, they're going through the process of how you get the glider into the sky.
Yeah.
And it's just, in a movie that expects you to kind of just go along with what's happening, they spend a lot of time showing you how these machines make sense, but there's a clear distinction from like the Sky Pirates machines and the Laputan machines that you see, the robots, things like that. Because with the Sky Pirate machines, you always see humans working on them. You see them getting dirty. You see them
down there working on something.
Right. There's this.
Like the technology definitely fits for each distinct faction.
Yep. And I think why the technology on Laputa is described as frightening is because it lacks that human element. It's just like, here's a stone that causes immense destruction. Yeah. This is why this is scary. Leave this alone.
It
like, this should not exist.
Of the Sheikah technology from Breath of the Wild.
Right.
Like, that's what I was thinking the whole time.
Right. And I kind of like that argument because I think it's not necessarily an anti-tech message. It is a message of like, we have to, like, there has to be a beauty to this. Like, flying around the sky, discovering things is amazing. Shooting giant lasers, you know, there's a clear atomic bomb
moment
analogy there. Like, this, don't cause destruction. And you even have Sheeta say, like, I should never, ever, ever use this destruction tool.
Yeah, they're talking about how they left the island and everything like that.
Yeah, it is interesting, though, because she says, I had to learn this destruction spell in order to, like, understand everything else.
The good ones.
The good ones, yeah. And I guess you can kind of see that in the Mysterious Island itself, where, like, it's not so much, like, there's this drive to find the island, but then once Pazu and Sheeta find it, it's like, this is beautiful, let's leave it alone. Where it's not so much, it's okay to discover something, it's okay to view something and witness something and appreciate something without trying to control it, without trying to...
Absolutely.
And yeah, there's this sort of humility here where it's like, we're okay realizing that this is not for us. And I think that's a really good, really profound message. Going back, circling back around to the animation, another scene that I want to give specific credit is the train scene where...
Oh my god.
Pazu and Sheeta are trying to escape from the Sky Pirates.
What a chase, yeah.
And again, just the way they put the sort of like momentum and the physicalness of this chase. You've got them speeding along this giant rickety train track. Do you remember in Final Fantasy VII when you fall down and you're trying to like climb up the thing?
Come on.
Reminded me of that. But it's just this absolutely enormous train track. And as they're speeding along, the train track is crumbling behind them, and you see just like chunks of wood flying off.
Yeah.
And it just does such, and the way like the track bends as they move across it does such a fantastic job.
Yeah, I remember like when he fell on some pots, when he tried to use the stone, and he fell through like the floor and everything. And I was looking at like how the pots looked broken and everything. I was like, dude, this looks so good and believable.
Yeah, it's not really anything to say, but
I mean, it's just like, yeah, what else can we say?
Well, I was just like, I wish all anime could look this good. I wish, it's so humbling to watch something and feel like there were no shortcuts taken, where they agonized over every single frame, trying to make the stone look believable, trying to make this crazy technology that has never existed believable, all that stuff. It was just beautiful to watch.
Like, it was.
You can watch this movie and not think about it at all and just appreciate how things move through it. The settings,
like the beauty, the variety in it.
And I want to give special credit to the music as well.
I was thinking the music's so good earlier.
The music was absolutely
Man, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, when I was watching this movie, I'm like, dude, this music's really, really great.
Yeah, and again, thinking to my favorite scene in the film when Pazu and Sheeta first arrive on Laputa, when they get there and the way the music plays, like kind of both making the island feel beautiful. There's a sereneness to it, but there's also it's kind of quiet. It's kind of distant. It's kind of like, let's not poke at this too much. It just, the way that the sounds play out, it conveys that tone. Even if there was nothing on screen, you would get that vibe. It matches the tone
of the scene perfectly. It doesn't take away from the scene. It just adds a little extra to it that really make it sells the feeling even more to you that they're trying to convey about where they're at or something like that.
Totally. What do you think about Pazu as sort of a lead character?
I liked him. I noticed it was the voice actor of Krillin from Dragon Ball and
Is
Luffy.
it?
Yeah,
I didn't notice
I was like,
that,
oh, Krillin
yeah.
and Luffy the whole time. Yeah, that's what I was thinking the whole time. But I liked him. I didn't think he was an annoying kid. I thought he was. I mean, he's a typical hero, good guy kind of thing like that. But I was like, yeah, he does the job kind of thing like that.
Yeah, totally. He very much falls in line with the Ghibli protagonist earnestness, where again we've already talked about. We've already talked about how easily that character and Sheeta just trust everyone, and I think a great example, right, and something kind of woefully absent from a lot of modern storytelling is when they run into the old man in the cave, Palm.
Dude, I like that because he knew everybody.
Yeah.
Pazu, he knew who they were.
Right.
He's like, oh yeah, it's old man or whatever, uncle's whatever, Palm. Yeah.
You think about that scene, and you think about how you would interact if this old man approached you and this young girl in a cave. And you would expect some hesitation when this old man is talking about how the rocks speak to him. You expect some like aside comment of why does this guy, he's so crazy, but they don't do that. They take him at his word. They know him. They believe him. They don't think it. They don't dismiss him because he's old. They don't dismiss him because of what he's saying. Again, there's sort of that trust, I think, that makes the world.
I bought it because I feel like because he mentions they're minors and stuff like that. Like they're all really hard-working people who probably all look out for each other. So most people probably know each other.
Right.
So it made it more believable to me when he went on the train and everything like that.
Yeah.
And like everyone's really willing to help him immediately.
Totally. That you mentioned hardworking, and I think that's so true. That is another theme that is common in all of Miyazaki's films. Is you have these people. He represents. In this movie, it's minors. In Princess Mononoke, you've got warriors and villagers.
I remember pumping the fire, or stuff like that.
Yeah. You have all of the theme of hard work. Mm-hmm. Even in Spirited Away, where the girl gets transported to this bathhouse, she has to work really, really hard, but it's never presented as a cruel thing. There's kind of this consistent theme of beauty and hard work, and how working together with other human beings and devoting your life to something will just kind of give you this thankfulness, this humility, and this trust of other people.
He probably went through something like that in his life.
Yeah.
Growing up that, so he likes to carry it over. Yeah.
Right. I mean, if the stories of Miyazaki are true, I mean, he has devoted his entire life to animation, and you could see that in the quality of his films. But again, just another message that I think you're watching this movie and it's inspiring to see.
And it's like a good message,
Right. Like, I don't know anything about machines or flight, but this movie conveyed the wonder of it and how beautiful the world can be. And it's such a sappy, poetic, idealistic thing to say, but I think if any piece of art can make you feel like the world is magical and the world has things worth living for, then that is an outstanding piece of anything. I think that is more impressive, more powerful, and more difficult to pull off than any cynical observation, than any amount of skepticism. To make you believe in pure goodness is a hard thing to do.
Because showing something bad, you could do that way easier. Just showing something bad happening, but actually making it believable, and not super cheesy or anything like that.
Right, and it's sort of a vague thing to describe, but having it feel sincere and not cheesy.
Yes, exactly.
That is. Yeah. Extremely difficult.
It's like respecting your audience, know? Not just going for cheap laughs, telling a message that it's just told in such a good way. Oh, man, when I just think about how the stuff is told in this movie, it's so well done.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's a deep respect for the audience. There's a deep respect for life itself. And it's just... I haven't seen all of the Miyazaki movies, all of the Studio Ghibli movies, but I've seen quite a few of them, and every time it's just sort of like a soft reset on life, where it's like, no, the world is good.
Yeah, the world is good. A good place.
And I think that's a good note to end on. We're going to cut the conversation a little bit shorter. We're not going to go to an hour just for the sake of it. I think we want to have really tight, this is what we feel about specific elements of this thing.
We're the Dragon Ball Kai.
This is the Dragon Ball tie right now. Yep. But
filler.
I don't want to cut it short. Is there anything else you want to say? Any elements that we didn't touch on? Anything we forgot about?
I've said this 100 times, but this movie is It's a word we don't use like often because
Right.
it's such like a broad word, but beautiful.
Yeah. It's a masterpiece. It is. It's a word that I think has been overused and the value of it has been diluted, but I would absolutely describe
Like
Castle
this
in the
is
Sky
worthy of that, yeah. 100%.
as a masterpiece. And yeah, thank you for letting us talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm still kicking myself that we didn't talk about the pillows in the Fooly Cooley episode. And so I wanted to make a special point to talk about the music.
Yeah,
here.
when someone said that, I was like, oh yeah, dude, why did we miss that?
No, it was like something that was written down on my notes and we just, for whatever reason, missed it. But to bounce back real quick to the pillows, that music is the show.
Yep.
Like we were talking about how the music in the Castle in the Sky fits the tone. Totally, but without the music in Fooly Cooley, you suddenly don't have the same thing. All that show's identity is wrapped up in sound.
It's mandatory.
And it's wrapped up, like the pillows convey music as an identity, music as a style, not just music as like an oral experience. And that theme of like brazen young adulthood, that theme of punk is so well represented in Fooly Cooley and becomes like the cornerstone of that entire show and what it bounces everything off of. So
and
yes,
they're coming back.
They're coming back.
Yes,
they're doing it again.
It's like, how'd you do that without them, man?
Yeah, absolutely. Brad, we're at the final point of the show where we're going to talk about recommendations. I'm going to start with you. What would you like to recommend to our audience?
I'm going to recommend the original Mobile Suit Gundam.
Nice. Yeah, you've been watching that.
1979. I've been watching the series, first time going through it. I've watched 3 out of 4 discs. Almost there, man. But, dude, it's so cool to see where the series has started. And, like, I've seen a lot of other Gundams and just knowing what it becomes. And it still holds up, dude.
Yeah.
Like, my only complaint is sometimes I feel like only the Gundam kills, like, Zaku's and stuff like that a lot.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a little more variety to that. And it does a great job, I think, of developing a lot of the characters in it, besides Amuro.
Yeah.
Like, Kai, I think, is my favorite character. He's kind of like this smart aleck guy on the ship who's, like, kind of lazy, doesn't want to do much about it. But they give him, like, some nice development, make him a believable character, like, because they're trapped on this ship, you know? They're kind of, like, forced in the military, and he doesn't want to be a part of it, kind of thing like that. Like, believable situation to me. I'm like, yes, I totally understand that.
Right. I mean, this is something that you could say about so many Gundam series, but it's true in Mobile Suit Gundam, where it's easy to get to want to watch the show because you have these giant, amazing machines.
Fights,
But I think what really makes you a fan and makes it stick in your memory years later is that it is at the very least attempting to dig into why people fight each other and how
it does. It gives you
both
like
sides can be reasonable and
exactly
and how
like,
common people suffer during war and
I
like
love
that.
a lot of the characters. Like I love Amuro, I love Ryu, Kai, I love Char, the villain. Oh my god, he's so awesome. One of the greats.
When you told me you were going through this, I was like, I need to go through it. I need to watch those movies and
oh man,
refresh myself on it because they actually showed it on Cartoon Network, and that was my kind of singular
I remember when
experience
they showed that,
with Mobile Suit Gundam. So my question for you is, now that you're revisiting Mobile Suit Gundam, and it's so old, and there's been so much Gundam since then, does it feel underdeveloped? Does it feel strikingly similar to more recent Gundam? Are there pretty dramatic differences? Like, how does it measure up?
For me, a lot of it's about the cast, and it feels like much more kind of basic, like Evil Army kind of thing like that. But I think it's pretty advanced for the time that came out, especially.
So the themes that are presented in Mobile Suit Gundam were more developed in later series, but it's pretty amazing that they were there in the first place.
Yeah, when I'm like thinking about, I'm like, this is 1979.
Yeah. Like
all the political drama going on between the both factions, especially in Zeon, and it's still really interesting to me. All that stuff. Man, the mobile suits look so cool. Some of these older ones. Like I haven't seen a lot of these mobile suits in a long time.
Yep.
When I just see like the Zaku, like classic Zaku, or like whatever. I forgot what the water one's called. But there's like the like the blue Zaku that has the whip and like the guns in his finger. Dude. Even, like, I really love how different the mobile suits feel on each side, too, like, design-wise. Because you got the gun tank, which is on, like, the Federation side, and you got the one that Kai uses. I forgot what it's called. It's, like, red. It has, like, 2 cannons on its shoulder like that. Then, like, the Zaku's look completely different than them. Like, the Zeon's all kind of like that Zaku feel, or, like, design kind of inspiration. Oh, man. It's a really great-looking show, too. Like, there's only a few times where I feel like it repeats some the same thing, like in a combat, like you might see like the same angle a couple of times like that. I'm like, well, they're redoing that to kind of fill time.
Sure.
But it's still really impressive to me for the time, and I'm really surprised I'm enjoying it this much.
Yeah, Mobile Suit Gundam is one that I would love to do an EZAnime episode on. But we're actually, speaking of Gundam, we're actually breaking the seal on Gundam.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, out of the Gundam that I've seen, it's my favorite.
I really like this one because it feels different.
Yeah, it is. It's very different. So the next EZAnime that we're going to be doing, that's going to be going up on the last day of September, that's a Saturday, I believe. I believe that is September 30th. Let me look here. Is we're going to be covering Gundam 08th MS Team. And we're doing 08th MS Team for a few different reasons. You proposed it. I was immediately on board. We really like it, and so that's obviously a big factor. But also, it is very different than a lot of other Gundam. At least, again, I haven't seen all of Gundam, but the Gundam that I've seen, it's very different from that, and it's very short. And so I think what's great about doing a Castle in the Sky episode, I think what's great about doing an 08th MS Team is if you guys haven't seen it, you want to be part of that conversation, you can watch it.
Yeah. Mike Huber might join us for this one.
Yeah.
Possibly. He's interested in it.
I would love Mike Huber's opinion on Gundam. I'd love Huber to be on the Gundam building streams as well.
Yeah, me too.
But we'll be doing that. We'll be talking Gundam, and we'll be doing, I think without a doubt, more Gundam episodes in the future. I would imagine, at least for right now, for September, for October, November, December, we'll probably be covering shorter series.
Sure.
And then
especially with review season coming.
With review season come up. And then once we get to the spring, we'll hopefully do longer things. Like we want to do
I want
Gintama.
I want that Dragon Ball Super episode,
I want to do Dragon Ball Super. I think
that.
Dragon Ball Super is going to be like an all hands on deck episode. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one, man.
But my recommendation, kind of continuing with the Miyazaki theme, another thing that I would love to do a full episode on, because I think it is an absolutely beautiful film. Not a film that is loved by everyone, though, is The Wind Rises. The last film directed by Miyazaki. And this was a film that I saw in theaters. I actually saw it with Michael Damiani when I was living with him.
Nice.
And The Wind Rises, the best way to sum it up is it's about somebody following their dream. And it's about somebody that loves flight so much and is amazed by flight so much that they spend their entire life chasing after it. And we talked about hardworking, we talked about being amazed by something, and this film absolutely captures it. And I kind of saw it at a time where I was very impressionable to this message anyway. But if you are feeling lost, if you're feeling like you don't know what you want to do, this movie tells you don't give up, chase after something, and chase after something with your whole self.
Right.
And it's really fantastic. The other thing that I want to comment on with The Wind Rises is there's a love story that plays out, and honestly, this may sound hyperbolic, but it is one of the best, most convincing relationships, most natural relationships that I've seen play out in an animated feature.
Wow.
The love that they have with each other, the way that they express that love, there's a scene where they are holding hands, like he's working, and she's kind of laying down on the bed, and they just kind of look at each other and they grasp each other's hands. It is like, no, you feel it. You feel the connection that they have with each other. There's no need for a tremendous amount of words there. You understand why they love each other.
I think that's just one of Miyazaki's things, is telling you without saying it.
Yeah. He's putting life before your eyes. Yeah. So Wind Rises, I think maybe because of the time I saw it, it will always be one of my favorites. My Neighbor Totoro is my absolute favorite.
Yeah.
I think that is pretty much a perfect film.
I think we all got our favorites.
Yeah. What's your favorite, out of curiosity?
Mononoke.
Mononoke is beautiful. They're all beautiful. I haven't seen, The Cat Returns, or one that I haven't seen that I've heard nothing but beautiful things about is Porco Rosso. I haven't seen it.
I've never seen it. I haven't seen all his movies, but every time I see one, I'm like, dude.
It's nice because Studio Ghibli films are such a treat that I don't want to binge watch them. Yeah. I just kind of want to space them out, and then when they come...
It's like when you get a 30-year-old bottle of whiskey.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That's what it feels like.
That's when you crack it open. Yeah, it's like that thing that you only do during Christmas.
Yeah,
I'm only going to have apple cider during Christmas. It's kind of like that. But that's going to be kind of our gushing Castle in the Sky episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It wasn't as clearly broken down into segments as it has been in the past, and that was intentional.
Yeah.
I think we both realized that what we wanted to talk about with Castle in the Sky was kind of more about how the movie made us feel and what we saw in it, rather than let's talk about this character, let's talk about that character.
Yeah, it's a lot shorter too. So.
Yeah. So let us know if you liked this style, and the length also played a part of it, or if you prefer the old style, and let us know what you thought about the episode. We're always trying to evolve it. We're always trying to make it better.
That's right.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you at the end of this month for Gundam 08 The Mess Team.
Yes.